All right, so let me put this link out there, and we'll dive right on it. All right. Let's do it. You good to go, Dave?
I'm good to go. Let's do it.
Good to go? Did you get the Google Doc I shared with you, just in case you need a refresher?
Honestly, I have not clicked it, but that's because I'm going to click it right now because I today was just a nuts day.
Nice.
And
it's all good.
It's
no worries.
All-time Celtics draft board. All right, I'm opening it now.
Dave and I went back and forth today. He kept getting rid of Rafe LaFrentz, but I kept adding Rafe LaFrentz back because Dave just hates Rafe LaFrentz.
I was a fan. He was a good shot blocker.
Thank you. Finally, I get somebody else on this show who agrees with me on this. That's right, Dave. I'll always have this. It is Sopan, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I just want to make sure. Just triple check, rather. All right. We're good to go. I'll count us in. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back into a sad episode of Crossing State Lines. Well, sad for some reasons, because the Celtics are eliminated from the playoffs rather unceremoniously. Again, led in the fourth quarter. Again, blew the lead in the fourth quarter. Dave, you're here to share the sadness with me, commiserate. Yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. What did you think of the loss, Dave?
Just another game to me that they weren't able to close it out in the fourth, but still, as frustrating as it was, there's a lot to build on. There's a lot of young guys on this team, so certainly a lot of positives to go forward. It's just hard to see them right after the loss.
Well, Dave, we certainly want the perspective of our guest today. We don't want to waste any time introducing him. He's had a busy day covering a lot of breaking news because, he only writes about the NBA for a living, unlike us who talk about it just to the ether, rather. We're joined by New York Times NBA and culture reporter. He's the author of Mistranslations, Meeting the Immigrant Parents Who Raised Me. It's Sopan Deb. Sopan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for joining me, man. Sorry I was running a couple minutes late there.
That's okay. No problem at all. We are I guess as a big lifelong Celtics fan, what was your read of the season and the, again, like I said, rather unceremonious exit for the Celtics this year?
Well, I think that if you told Celtics fans at the beginning of the season that this season would end in an Eastern Conference Finals run and that the Eastern Conference Finals run, the series would be competitive, I think a lot of fans would have taken that early on. And so if you put it in that, so if you look at that, put it in that context, this is a pretty successful season for the Celtics. The series, yeah, they probably should have won the series. They were the more talented team, but sometimes things happen and they were competitive. They didn't lay down in any of the games. They led in the fourth quarter in 3 of the losses, I think, if not the fourth, if not all 4. I think 3 of the 4 losses. I mean, look, it's not an ideal series loss, but the reason they were favored is because they overachieved in the regular season. So, that's about as much as you can ask for.
That's true. And, when I was reflecting on it last night, obviously I was upset. And, your tweet about Gordon Hayward kind of reined me in also. But I was disappointed. But at the end of the day, yes, they swept the Sixers. Yes, they won a grueling 7-game series with the Raptors. And, yeah, they got outplayed by a deeper team. It's really, in the context of what they were expected to do this year and obviously what happened with the pandemic, I think you can't be dissatisfied. You can be disappointed, but you can't be dissatisfied with what they did. I don't know about you, Dave.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think both you guys are right on the head here. And I just think it's hard right now because after the progress they showed this year, they overachieved all year. And then, they sweep Philly. They take out Toronto, who a lot of people were talking about as a dark horse pick to win the East before the playoffs started. So it's a big start to the playoffs. They kind of dominate the first 6 games of the playoffs. They go 6-0. So I think a lot of that contributed to how we're feeling now, which is they're the better team, but they just got outplayed and they got beat by a team that had a coach that coached better, is probably the best coach in the NBA, and a team that just executed their game plan to a T. I mean, I think there's nothing to be ashamed of there. It's just it's another step forward.
I mean, but I do have some doubts that the team, as constructed right now, can magically get better next year, for a couple reasons. Next year, the league's going to be very different. You're going to have Kyrie and Kevin Durant back in Brooklyn. I think Milwaukee's going to be. I don't think Milwaukee's going to be a second round out again. You have. You're probably going to have a retooled Philly team. You're going to probably have Toronto just as potent as they were this season. Well, I think what makes this particular series loss feel frustrating if you're a Celtics fan is that I think this is the best opportunity they're going to have in some time. It feels like every road from here on out gets a little tougher. But, who knows? What do I know?
Well, I mean, I understand that. I kind of felt that way also after the 7-game series loss against Cleveland a few years ago. I was like, man, you were at the doorstep. You could have gotten to the finals. Similar situation where they were going to get pasted by whoever they played anyway, unless the Rockets snuck in, because there was that brief period where the Rockets and Celtics were up 3-2 at the same time. And it was like, Oh my God, are we going to have like this weird, wild finals? And sure enough, everything, water rose to its level. Everything worked out as it was supposed to. But yeah, it's like you said, the league's going to get better, especially the East is going to get better next year. The Bucks probably aren't going to do that again. Kyrie and Durant will be back. I'm still skeptical of the Steve Nash hire, but again, what do I know? I'm just a guy looking at what happened with Jason Kidd as one example. That really didn't work in Milwaukee that year. But they will still be there and better and healthy, presumably. So you're not going to have a situation like this again, probably ever. But you got to hope that the star players that you have develop and you find a big man, all respect to Daniel Tice, but a big man you can rely on a little bit more consistently to match up against guys like Bam or even Giannis.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just going to say that was kind of tying into my question for you. I know you mentioned you don't see this team going forward as constituted. What would be one change that you would make potentially for them?
Well, that's what I mean by as currently constituted. Is like, I don't know they have the pieces to have the flexibility to significantly improve. So here are a couple of things. Right? Gordon Hayward has an opt-in for, I think it's like $35 million thereabouts. Gordon Hayward's probably opting back in because he will never make that kind of money anywhere else. And he's probably not getting a max contract for the rest of his career. He's on the wrong side of 30. So if Gordon Hayward re-signs, that's $80 million thereabouts tied up in Kemba and Gordon Hayward, 2 players. So then who are you trading? What are the trade pieces the Celtics have? They have a bunch of, you're not trading Jalen Tatum or Kemba Walker. Okay, so your trade pieces are really a bunch of young, unproven young guys and draft picks. So who are you getting for that? And I just don't know that they're going to get they can get an impact player that can take him to that next level. What they have to do essentially is rely on guys like Romeo Langford, Time Lord, Grant Williams, and even Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have to count on them to go to another level. And it's possible, and it's entirely possible. The Celtics have a nice collection of young talent, but you just don't know what they have in those players, except for Tatum and Brown, of course. You just don't know what they have in them.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, I saw today. I don't think this is real, and I'm not saying that it's going to happen or not, but there was the rumor of Oladipo leaving Indiana and potentially the Celtics being interested, obviously, because every big name comes up, floats aboard, and all the big market teams supposedly want him to build interest. But what would Oladipo's Hayward for Oladipo was the rumored package, I should say. That doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think of that?
I think Oladipo makes significantly less than Hayward, because I think Oladipo makes something like $20 million a year. I think Hayward makes 34, 35 next year. So I don't know. I think Indiana would have to throw in other pieces to make that work. So, and why would Indiana trade Victor Oladipo and pieces for Gordon Hayward?
Yeah, that was my thought. Yeah.
And does Victor Oladipo make? Where would he play? Here's the other problem with Gordon Hayward and the Boston Celtics. Hayward is still a starter in this league. He had a very good year, right?
Yeah.
If he starts, then you're either starting Marcus Smart at the 2 and you're playing Gordon Hayward as your center, or Marcus Smart comes off the bench and Daniel Tice is your center. Marcus Smart has earned himself a full-time starting job with the Celtics at this point. And so Hayward is not going to come off the bench. He's too talented for that. So it's a conundrum that the Celtics find themselves in. So trading for Oladipo, that makes the Celtics smaller essentially. But who's coming off? Are you really going to have Marcus Smart again come off the bench? He probably is not going to publicly complain, but Smart has advanced his game enough as both one of the best defensive players in the league and as a playmaker that he should be starting for the Celtics at this point, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an astute observation that Marcus Smart's earned himself a starting role. It's kind of hard for me to swallow that because it's so weird seeing him start. I'm just so used to him being a sixth man at this point, and he brings such great defensive ability and fire, and he's probably, I would say he's the heart of the team just from my perspective. But I say this with all due respect to Marcus Smart. He shoots threes like kind of the same way I do in pickup, where if I hit 1 or 2, I'm just going to take 10 more, hoping they all go down. And that's something I'd like to see a little more consistency out of him. Maybe that's just kind of who he is. That's kind of what we have to live with. But if he, shoots 5 of 12 from 3 every game, but he gives you, everything else he gives you as Marcus Smart, I think he's definitely earned all that, all the money he's earned, every minute on the court that he's earned. He is such an incredible talent for them to have. And I've seen people, you guys have seen it. You all know Celtics Twitter very well. They lost last night and people just went bananas with trade possibilities and firing Brad Stevens. And today it didn't help that Doc Rivers got fired because then people were like, oh my God, let's bring him back. Let's bring the whole crew together. Maybe get Paul Pierce as an assistant. It is just, it's lunacy. I saw somebody who said they should trade. He said he would trade Hayward and Kemba for Duncan Robinson straight up. And I was like, all right, I think we all need to put the bottle down and kind of go to bed.
Right.
Like it just like absorb it. I think, and I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but I think Chris Broussard maybe had the best tweet of the night when he said, congratulations to the Heat. Great effort. Lakers in 5.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right to me. I mean, listen, the Heat have done an incredible thing, but only one team lower than a 4 seed has won an NBA championship, and that was the 95 Houston Rockets, who had Hakeem Olajuwon, and they were repeat champions. It's really hard for me to believe that this Miami team can beat a Lakers team best out of 7. Look, the Lakers are the 2 best players in the series. In the vast majority of playoff series, if a team has the 2 best players in the series, they're going to win the series. It's just NBA is a very individual focused game. And so when you have the 2 best players, you're more than likely going to win. And especially when one of those players is one of the best players in NBA history.
Yeah. And that's the other point about that Hakeem Olajuwon win. There was no GOAT to go through. Yes, Hakeem's a fantastic player, one of the greatest of all time in his own right. But like you said, you got LeBron in this series. You have Anthony Davis right there, the 2 best players in the series. And then, yes, the Heat are probably the deeper team. But when it comes to LeBron and his lethal mentality, it pains me to say as a Celtics fan looking at this series, and I'm sure you guys can identify with this as Celtics fans, there is no winner of this series for Celtics fans. LeBron has served us our lunch many times over the years. The Heat have served us our lunch many times over the years. So I don't really like either of these teams winning, but I mean, I don't think you can look at it objectively and see any other outcome than the Lakers in 5, maybe.
Although the rivalry in terms of the Lakers and Celtics, it hasn't really existed since the 80s. Not really. I mean, you did have it briefly for a year or two in the late 2000s, but like the rivalries only really exist among the fans.
That's true.
Like I'm personally not going to be bothered by the Lakers winning a title. You know what I mean? Like the players don't have personal beefs with the Lakers. You know, those guys are fine with each other. You know what I mean? Like the rivalry, the fan rivalry. I would say actually, I mean, I think the Celtics probably have more animosity, although no one is on that team from that team is on the team anymore. But like 2017 Wizards, like those guys actually beefed with the Celtics.
Kelly Oubre.
You know, like that was more of a rivalry than Celtics Lakers is right now.
That was, yeah.
You know, the Celtics, you know, just who like Philly. I would say that Philly has been a bigger rival to the Celtics in the last couple of years than, you know, I could see the Nets next year being huge rivals to the Celtics with the Kyrie thing and all that. But even then, like Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving are pretty good friends.
It's true.
You know, so anyway, I just think we wish there was this big rivalry, but like the players don't in today's NBA, the players don't care that, you know, so-and-so's on the Lakers and so-and-so's on the Celtics. It doesn't matter.
No, that's true. And in the same vein as that, I found it funny because when they tipped off game one of the conference finals, and they were like, it's a rematch of the 2012 conference finals, and I'm like, I think the only player on either roster still there is Udonis Haslem.
Yeah.
I think it was just him. I'm like, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to call it a rematch. Like, yeah, it's
totally
the same franchises, but literally nothing could be more different. Udonis Haslem is still there, but just kind of in name only at this point. He's like,
and players move around a lot more now, so it's just a different league, man.
Yeah, no, it is, and yeah. But any final thoughts on the Celtics season, the requiem for the Celtics at this point?
No, I've got nothing, man.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can relive some better days for the Celtics. We're gonna do a little all-time Celtics draft. Steve in the comments watching us on YouTube says that Glenn Davis better be drafted. That's not going to happen because Rafe LaFrentz is the superior power forward. But anyway, so I did the randomizer. I swear to God, this is random. I know Dave's gonna cry foul, but I have the first overall pick. Sopan has the second overall pick. Dave has the third. He has the wheel pick. So you'll get back to back. It's a snake draft. So I'll just kick us off right from the start. This is very difficult because, by the way, if people are watching and want to play along, we are drafting 5 starters, 2 bench guys, and a coach. So I'll start off. This is tough because there are 2 all-time great players in Celtics history that are all-time great players in NBA history, and at least 2. And it's so difficult. It really is. But I got to go with Larry Bird. I have to. I mean, Larry Bird is it's either him or Bill Russell, and it absolutely tears me not to pick either of those 2. But he's Larry Legend, man. It's between him or Bill Russell, who's the face of the Celtics franchise in their history. He was the center of those championship teams in the 80s, and he brought grit, he brought fire, he was all over the place in the court, did pretty much everything. I mean, that 3-point contest is just remarkable. I have to let Dave back in, apparently. Was just remarkable, but he's Larry Bird, man. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's either him or Bill Russell for me.
Well, if you're gonna go Larry Bird, I've got to go Bill Russell. Look, you know, he won, you know, a gazillion championships, one of the best defensive players in history. But he wasn't. I mean, he was decent on the other side of the ball. You know, he was athletic. He's not like you know, he's not one of those guys he's not a Rudy Gobert type where, you know, smaller guards can kind of run circles around him literally. And you can't argue. Look, you can't argue with one of the great defenders and rebounders of all time. Bill Russell's a hero of mine, so I'll go with Bill Russell. Yeah,
I mean, for me, when I was talking about this idea with Dave, I was like, first and second overall to me is just easy money. I mean, third. The good thing about the third pick is that you can get 2 really great players as opposed to the all-time greats of Larry Bird or Bill Russell. So I'm anxious to see what Dave ends up going with here. I know that Dave is thinking about Greg Steamsma. You were saying, Greg Steamsma?
The Steamer, yeah, of course.
Wally Zerbiak?
You put Rafe LaFrentz back on the list, by the way.
I told you I did. I had to because Rafe LaFrentz is, you know, he was a lottery pick out of Kansas. I believe one year he maybe led the Celtics in some category, but he was, he was hitting threes at the power forward center position before anybody else was. All right. I don't want to hear anything else about it because Rafe LaFrentz, all-time great. Dave, you have back-to-back picks. What are you going to go with?
All right. My first one, I'm going to take Paul Pierce because he's, I think, had one of the best careers of people on this list. You guys took my first 2 picks, obviously. Bird and Russell would have obviously gone 1 and 2 on anyone's board, but I'm going to take Paul Pierce for my first pick. Gives me the score. I'm actually also kind of torn on the second pick whether I go big man or backcourt because I do have my wing right now, but I think I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go Bob Cousy here. I'm going to take the point guard because I just think that when I look at the point guard list, I think Bob Cousy is the strongest fit for a kind of a depth issue. I think there's more quality wing and bigs.
Yeah. You freeze on me again, Dave?
I mean, look, Cousy invented the point guard position.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
No, so you can't really argue with the Cousy thing.
Gotta get that point guard.
I have to ask, what's the pup's name?
Her name's Coco. She had an upset stomach today and has been throwing up all night, and so we've had a little bit of an adventure with her today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
All the best to Coco. Coco is officially a friend of the podcast. First dog we've had on the show, I believe.
Oh yeah,
think so. First dog we've had on the show? Not anymore. Coco has left the screen. Emily's very disappointed. Anyway, but a strong start, Dave. Bob Pierce. Everybody remembers Bob Pierce. Paul Pierce and Bob Cousy. Sopan, you got Bill Russell, and it's back to you.
So now to pick. Oh man, this is a tough one. I guess Havlicek is probably. I haven't looked at the list, but I guess Havlicek is the logical next pick. The cumulative numbers are there. The clutch factor is there. Just an elite scorer. I mean, he was great. So Hondo's my guy. And also, I mean, I think we as fans often fall victim to recency bias, and we forget how great some of the older guys were. And Havlicek was just freaking great. So I would go Havlicek as my next.
No doubt about it. I mean, first of all, one of the all-time great radio calls ever of Havlicek.
Oh, yeah.
And all-time, he leads the Celtics all-time in several categories. Like all-time leading scorer. He leads them in made field goals. He's done a lot of stuff, and I think he was probably the best player left available on the board, so I can't really fault you for that one. Okay, I got back-to-back picks here. Oh, man. This is tough, man. There's a couple of guys I'm looking at here. I'm honestly in my head, I'm like reassembling the 1980 Celtics. I feel like I got to go with McHale. I mean, McHale first of all, we know he'll play well alongside Larry Bird on my team. We've got some history on that, but I like Kevin McHale to kind of round out, be my power forward. He's going to bring a lot of fight. I want him to clothesline every play. I don't care. He can foul out in the first 5 minutes. I want him clotheslining everybody. I don't care. Especially if it's Kurt Rambis. Again, however old Kurt Rambis is now, like in his 60s, I want him to clothesline him again.
So is McHale your first pitch or your second pick in a row? Sorry, I missed one.
It's my first one. Okay. So I'm trying to think who I want to wrap around with. Could get really crazy here. You know what? I think I'm gonna get real crazy with it. I'm not gonna take just one Kevin. I'm gonna take 2 Kevins. I'm gonna go Kevin Garnett with my second pick.
Yeah, I think that's a smart pick.
Because first of all, with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Kevin Garnett, no one's messing with my team. First of all, there's any fight, my team wins with those 3 guys. I mean, with Bird probably being the worst fighter on the team right there, McHale, Garnett, they're going to go at you. But second of all, Kevin Garnett's an unbelievable defender, scorer, everything. And he provides a lot of heart. Like when he came to the Celtics, the term culture change is so overused nowadays, but he really did change the culture in the locker room. And it was a complete 180 for that team. They were good. They were competitive. And then they had that one terrible year. And then they came back into the fold. So I think going back-to-back Kevins here, it was something I envisioned possibly doing at one point, but now it's reality. So I'm going to go McHale and Garnett, which sends it back to you, Sopan.
See, this is a tough one, I think. can go a lot of different directions here, but who do I have so far? I have
you got Bill Russell and John Havlicek.
Okay, I could probably use a little backcourt help here. But I'll probably still, I think at this point, I'll still go best player available. And I'm probably going Parrish here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Parrish for the linchpin of the 80s Celtics. Although he's probably not as effective in today's NBA. A little bit more of a traditional center, but yeah, played in a fast break system. You know, great, long career. Really long career. He was very durable. So I will go with Parrish.
That's a good pick. Like you said, I think appropriate word there, linchpin for sure of that team. He was, maybe I don't want to use the word forgotten third member of that big three, but he was such an important player for them in those runs and a part of one of the absolute, and I know the Celtics have a history of swindling other teams with trades, but a part of one of the biggest lopsided trades in history. Robert Parrish. The Joe Barry Carroll trade. Not good. What was it? 7 straight All-Star appearances, 9 overall for Boston. Where did he finish his career?
Robert Parrish?
Yeah.
The Bulls, right?
That's correct. Finished it with the Bulls. Indeed, which I'm assuming means he won a championship with them.
He did. He did win a championship with
wow. At the ripe age of 43. Good for him. Robert Parrish, finishing out the career with a ring. I like it. It's a good pick. Robert Parrish, fantastic down there. But Bill Russell, Robert Parrish, you got a lot of size. So it's going to be tough to contend with. Dave, a couple picks here. Is he there? He might have left. He might have frozen. Dave freezes a lot on us. I had to let him back in. There he is. What's up, Dave?
I'm still here.
What's up? You have back-to-back picks now.
Okay, so I feel like I need to hit on some of these. So my first pick, I'm gonna go with Tommy Heinsohn. I'm gonna get my big here.
Okay.
Intelligent player, really could do it all. Monster rebounder. Definitely important for my front court that has just Pierce at the moment. So I need the rebounder.
It's gonna be rough, Dave.
I know it is. My next pick, this is where I have to kind of figure out what game I want to play. I'm actually gonna take Dave Cowens here. I'm gonna double up on my front court. I'm gonna take Dave Cowens. I'm going to try to play a more aggressive game than just have the traditional center. So I'm going to take Dave Cowens.
Dave Cowens might be one of the most unheralded Celtics greats. People kind of forget how dominant he was in his heyday.
Dave Cowens is great. No complaints there.
Rookie of the year, won an MVP. I mean, how can you go wrong? You get him in the 4th round like that, Dave?
Hell yeah.
Come on now. I mean, you kind of are building like the Houston Rockets of today with your size, but I appreciate it. I like.
Hey, I got 2 great rebounders. That's all I need.
You do. Cowens was only 6'9", so he might have trouble up against the Russells or the Garnetts of the world. But
hey, Russell was 6'9".
That's true. But Russell played. I feel like Russell played bigger than 6'9". I don't know if Dave Cowens did, but I know Garnett played like he was 7'5". So, I mean. Who really has the best big man, if we're being frank. But Sopan, it's back to you. You have Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Robert Parrish.
All right, now I really need some backcourt help. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one, but I'm going to go. Ray Allen. It's a little bit high for Ray, but I need a shooter. And Ray was an exceptional playmaker along with being a great shooter. I feel like Russell can cover up for whatever his defensive miscues he has. But I'm going to go Ray Allen.
What was your gut reaction as a Celtics fan when he left?
Didn't care. Honestly, I didn't. And listen, he helped bring the team a championship no matter what happens. And there's a good example. Listen, and for all this stuff about, you betrayed the Celtics by going to the rival, he almost got traded. This is a business.
That's true.
These players don't care as much about the jersey they wear as fans do, and fans don't care about the players unless they're wearing the name on the jersey.
Yeah.
And like my view on this especially evolved because of the Isaiah Thomas thing. Look, right. Isaiah Thomas loved being in Boston. He loved it. He was everything the fans wanted him to be and more. And then Danny Ainge got up and traded him. So anyway, I'm good. I was fine with Ray. He brought me some of my most joyous moments as a fan, whether it was driving on Sasha Vujacic, the record 3-pointers in the finals, it just goes on. The buzzer beater against the Bobcats, in 2008, that was a great one. I mean, this is just a fun player to watch.
I mean, I had a visceral reaction when you said Sasha Vujacic. I hated that guy so much.
Yeah.
The Lakers. He always had super like soaked hair and that like headband. Oh my God, I couldn't stand Sasha Vujacic every time he was out on the court.
Sasha Vujacic, how many did he win? Did he win 2 rings? I think he won two rings.
Yeah, I think he won 2. He was definitely on that second one. I think
he was too.
Was Derek Fisher on both of them, or was he just on the second one?
No, he was definitely. No, he was on both, I think. Oh, I don't remember. I actually don't know.
I know he was on the second one. Obviously, he was around earlier than that, but I don't think he was on the 08 team. But yeah, or the first.
I think he was.
I think he might. I don't know. Now you got me questioning myself.
I think he was.
Sasha Vujacic has been living in my head rent free for like 12 years, just because. And it wasn't even. He really didn't even do that much to the Celtics, to be frank. But anyway, that's a good pick, Ray Allen. I don't think that's high for Ray Allen at all. He's one of the best knockdown shooters in this list. It's really him and Bird when it comes to knockdown shooters, the best ones on this list. So I can't fault you for taking Ray Allen that high. That's for sure. So I definitely need some backcourt help. Dear God. Oh boy. So I am gonna start.
Sam Cassell's available.
Sam, yeah, thanks. I know Sam Cassell's available. I got that. And we take Von Wafer. I think Von Wafer would help my team.
Probably.
Take Von Wafer.
Carlos Arroyo would too. So
how about oh my God, how about Michael Olowokandi? Think I can get something out of him?
Now you're just getting crazy. You said backcourt.
That's true. Michael Olowokandi could not play point guard. He's not like Bam Adebayo. He can't play point center. I'll go DJ. I'll go Dennis Johnson. I feel like shooting guard, you can flex a lot of small forwards into shooting guard. I mean, really, it's a positionless game now. But I'll start out with DJ, and moving into now, something I really appreciate about this list is that you could theoretically have a player and coach, just like draft him. Like if you drafted Tom Heinsohn, Dave, he'd be like your player and your coach, just like he was, I believe. Was he? He was a player coach. No, he wasn't a player coach. Yeah. He was?
Yeah.
Okay, because he was, Bill Russell was, Dave Cowens was too, actually. Yeah, a lot of player coaches for the Celtics. So I'm going to start off with DJ, and for my point guard, I think I'm going to roll with Casey Jones. Complete my backcourt for now. Maybe get a bench guy here and there, but I think DJ and I mean, other than Kevin Garnett, I'm pretty much just rebuilding the '80s Celtics, which is fine. I mean, that was a tremendous team, the '80s Celtics. They were fantastic. Won some championships. Got you plenty of them. Gave Isaiah Thomas a lot of fits. You know what? They were great. They gave Michael Jordan problems. Really dominated the 80s. And then you add Kevin Garnett into that mix. Kevin Garnett would have fit in great in the 80s. He could have done a lot more with being physical in the 80s too. But so I like what I'm building so far. I like my nucleus, and I look forward to adding to my bench. But Sopan, it's back to you. You have Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Robert Parrish, and Ray Allen.
Yeah, so I need some more backcourt help. I'll go Tiny Archibald, solid old school guy. A great New York City point guard. He was just a great player. I really need some backcourt help here. If I recall correctly, made the All-Star game 4 times. But overall, just solid career from start to finish. Great scorer. This is pre 3-point line, I think. Great scorer, could take to the rack, decent rebounder too. He was in some ways he was not too dissimilar from Rajon Rondo, except way more of a scorer. But so I need some scoring help, so I'm going to go Tiny.
Yeah, 6-time All-Star overall, 3-time All-Star in Boston.
Okay. That was close.
He crazy. He averaged 34 points a game in 1972, well before he came to Boston, but still a crazy number.
Well,
he averaged
I take it back. Nothing like Rajon Rondo. I take that back. Please don't roast me for that comparison.
Hey, don't disparage the great name of playoff Rondo.
Yeah, that's true.
He averaged 11, 14, 14, 12 and a half, 10 and a half with the Celtics. So yeah, a really good player. He came to the Celtics after tearing his Achilles. He missed the year. And then he really lit it up in his early 30s to the Celtics. So I can't blame you there, Dave. You gotta start adding to your backcourt again, adding more guys to your backcourt.
I know. I only have Pierce technically and Kuzi. I'm torn on what I want to do at shooting guard because there's not a ton of options as far as shooting guards in that mold, unless I go current and go Tatum or Brown, which I don't really want to.
Wow. Dave hates Tatum and Brown. You heard it here first.
I think I'm going to go with Sam Jones. I'm going to take Sam Jones here first. I'll just go with it. I'll run a dual point guard lineup, and I'll rely on intelligence and shot making from them rather than getting the prototypical shooting guard. So I'll take Sam Jones first, and then my second pick. How many players are we going? 6 players, Jake, or how many?
We have 5 starters, 2 bench, and a coach.
Okay, so 5 starters, 2 bench.
You need your bench guys, essentially.
Okay. I am going to take Cedric Maxwell for my bench as my first off my bench.
I love it.
6'8", can rebound, can score, good defender, solid team guy, smart. This is a great guy off the bench, and he could even spot start if I wanted to switch up with the lineups. Wouldn't miss a beat. Maxwell's an easy pick.
Sure is. We can also broadcast the game for you while he's not playing.
Exactly.
So dual threat. I like it. I like Cedric Maxwell. I like Sam Jones. I believe Maxwell. Did he win a six man of the year? Did he win 6-man one year?
That sounds right. I don't remember.
I think so. I could be getting my players wrong, but Cedric Maxwell, one of the few NBA Finals MVPs to not be in the Hall of Fame. Crazy enough.
All right.
The things you learn when you do sports trivia every week, and I make those questions. And I managed to retain that one. It was him and damn it, who else? Do you remember who else it was, Dave? It was somebody else big who's done that. It's not me.
I have no idea.
It might be. Was it Billups?
Billups isn't in the Hall of Fame.
But yeah, he'll probably be in the Hall of Fame. But he sounds like he's
Iguodala is another one.
Who was it?
Iguodala is another one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he will eventually end up in the Hall of Fame. He's another one. Cedric Maxwell was the one that first came to mind. While you're making your pick, Sopan, I'll look it up because I know there's somebody I'm missing. But you are up next. You are starting out your bench now. You got Russell, Havlicek, Parrish, Allen, and Tiny Archibald.
Oof, man, that's a good team.
Well, you got to go with the probably the greatest 6-man in the history of the NBA, which is Bill Walton, who was a great bench player for the '86 Celtic. At this point, my big man rotation is pretty solid, but I'm going to go Walton. Grew a very, very amazing career. I think he won 6-man that year on the '86 Celtics, didn't he?
Yep, he was 6-man.
And then previously won the championship on the Blazers. I mean, it's too bad injuries. His foot injury is kind of, we never got to see a long-term stretch of dominant Bill Walton, but he was a great player.
So the only 2 that are eligible for Hall of Fame induction but are not in yet who have won Finals MVP are Billups and Cedric Maxwell. The other guys who will be in the Hall of Fame are Dwayne Wade, Tony Parker, Paul Pierce, Dirk, LeBron, Kawhi, Durant, Iguodala. All those guys eventually will be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm sure we'll probably leave Billups and Maxwell alone in that regard. Maybe Billups makes it at some point, but Cedric Maxwell, alone in history, a dubious distinction. But I like the Bill Walton pick. You guys, apparently that this round, do I have to pick someone who's been an announcer? Like, we got Bill Walton, we got Cedric Maxwell. Do I have to pick somebody who's been an announcer? Complete the trifecta? Oh my god. Damn. You guys are killing me here. Okay, so I need to start my bench or go crazy and pick a coach. Damn. All right. So I am going to. Oh man, I think I'm going to go crazy here. I might go a little wild. This might be a nutso pick, but I'm going to go with Rondo as my bench point guard. What was it?
I said, oh my god.
I'm sorry. I know he's not a knockdown shooter, but Rajon Rondo was some of the most thrilling basketball I've watched in my time as a Celtics fan. The guy was all over the place. He was an assist monster. He was very good defensively. And I'm not asking him to be a knockdown shooter. If I'm getting prime Rondo off the bench for an 82-game season, I'll be happy with that. I know I might have reached a little bit on him, but I feel like point guards are kind of at a premium in this draft, so I want a good one off my bench. So I'm going to go with Rondo. And while I'm at it, I am going to jump the gun. And
You were going to do that. I knew it. You didn't even have to tell me, and I knew what your pick was going to be.
I'm going to take Red Auerbach as my coach. Yeah, I feel like that just kind of speaks for itself. It's Red Auerbach. I mean,
Can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, so Red Auerbach, for those who are not familiar, I don't know how I'll put this in academic terms. Really, really good at what he did. I might as well just get a cigar out and cut it in honor of the great Red Auerbach. But my dad in his office has a picture. I forget what. I think it might have been after '86. Maybe one of the earlier ones. But it's a picture of Auerbach and Larry Bird, and obviously Red's got Red. And I think Red and Larry both have a cigar, and you can see Larry's super broken fingers, like recovered from many years of abuse. But yeah, so I'm gonna take care of my coach right now. There are only a few I put on the list because unless somebody, I know Dave, you really wanted Rick Pitino. I know you were really going for Pitino, but I couldn't let you do it because it's just not a smart pick.
No, Jim O'Brien guy here.
Jim O'Brien was it ML Carr? Was that his name?
ML Carr, yeah.
ML Carr, really a murderer's row. But I'm gonna go with Auerbach and leave my last slot. I'll have Mr. Irrelevant when we swing back around. But Sopan, you have one more bench spot, and you have your coach left to pick.
I will go Reggie Lewis for my bench.
God damn it.
Listen, we never got to see the best of Reggie Lewis. I mean, we did. He had a great career when he played, but unfortunately, his life was cut short. But Reggie Lewis was a guy who blocked Michael Jordan 4 times in one game. That doesn't happen. He probably, he had a game that was from a talent level that was on the level of a Paul Pierce type. So Reggie Lewis is a great piece to have off my bench. Wish we got to see him play out a full career, and I wish he was still alive today.
Yeah, I agree. I had him high up on my board too. I was probably gonna take him next. Great pick. Let's see. So I need one bench and one coach, right, Jake?
Indeed, you're wrapping up your team right now.
Okay. Well, doesn't matter the order. I'm gonna take Tommy Heinsohn as my coach. He's just gonna be the coach and the player at the same time.
So we're gonna have some sort of weird time paradox where Tom Heinsohn is coaching at the same time he's playing. I know player coaches existed and were a thing, but I feel like in this scenario, I think we have to have the two separate people just for how it's gonna look in my head. There's got to be two separate Tommy Heinsohns.
I have to pick a different coach?
No, you don't. I'm only messing with you.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
No.
I have my broadcast booth set up now too. I have Maxwell and Heinsohn.
I mean, that is true. That would be the most dynamic duo of color commentators you've ever seen. Like those two going back and forth would be just an absolute treat. The play-by-play could get a little messy at times, but the color commentary, top notch.
Sure.
So who's your other player?
All right, so my other player, I took Maxwell last time. He's kind of in the middle between big guy and guard. I feel like I need another guard, another guy that handle the ball maybe a little bit. You know what? let's get nuts. I'm gonna take Jason Tatum because I need a guy that can kind of move around a little bit. He's 6'9", he can handle the ball a little bit. He's gonna get better with his handle. I don't love the point guard options, so I'm gonna take Tatum and hope that he can play.
Tatum at 22 is better than a lot of Celtics greats were when they were 22.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like who was a better Celtic at 22 than Jason Tatum? Like I don't know what age Bill. You know, I guess I can look it up very quickly, but I don't know what Bill Russell's numbers were like at 22, but I'm pretty sure his rookie year was. Well, Bill Russell, his rookie year, he was 22, averaged 15 and 20. You know, so Bill Russell, solid. You know, but that's probably the list. You know,
and I mean, crazy is too. Like people forget back in the day, like Bird's first year in the NBA, he was 23. Tatum's already been in the league 3 years, and his third year, he's a borderline superstar.
Now I will say, Bird's at 23 was 21, 10, and 5.
Yeah.
You know, 41% from 3, 47% from the field. I mean, Bird's, but that's pretty good company to have. That's
exactly, yeah.
So anyway, Tatum's fine. I mean, he's on a trajectory. And I'm not saying he's going to get there. Who knows? But he's on a trajectory to not just be a good player. He's on his way to being an all-time player if the trajectory is consistent to that of other players who have entered the league.
That's true. And I'll tell you this: he wasn't a Celtic, but can you name who this player is? 23 years old. 12.4 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, 2.2 blocks.
Is that LaFrance?
That's Rafe LaFrance.
Oh, yes, there you go.
It's Rafe LaFrance. Dave, how are those numbers for you? That's pretty good. 12 and 8, 23 years old. Come on. You don't get better than that. That's right.
Didn't Reggie Evans put up numbers similar to that?
Radio silence right there.
Didn't Reggie Evans put up numbers similar to that?
You know what? I don't want to hear slander about Reggie Evans or Rafe LaFrance. All right. I don't think. I mean, if Rafe LaFrance, he's a big fan of the show. We know he loves it. He doesn't tweet about it. He's low key. But the slander, it needs to end. But Sopan, you have a coach left to pick. There are a couple of very good options on the board, unless you want to go crazy and take Rick Pitino.
I know you took Red. It's tough. It's tough because he got bounced today. But I'll go Doc. Doc. Look, do I think that Doc has had an amazing run with the Clippers? He had a good run with the Clippers. Is it ideal that he is the only coach in history to lose 3-1 leads in the playoffs? No, but you know what? He won a championship. He knows how to meld, a bunch of all-stars together in their prime. Players seem to really like him and respect him. So I'll ride with Doc.
I like it. And Doc had some really good years in Boston. He guided them through a couple of really, really tough seasons. And he's another guy that I look back and I'm like, I can't blame him for wanting to do something else after so many years in Boston. And it just, like you said, didn't go well. Clippers were loaded pretty much every year he was there. It just didn't go right, seemingly every year. And I'm sure he'll get a fresh start either this year or next year somewhere else. I don't know who tweeted out, but somebody was saying, the Pelicans and the Sixers have reached out about him, and I'm sure, we'll see how that, goes forward. But Doc Rivers, I mean, you can't argue with the results, and he was one of the most successful coaches in franchise history.
Yeah, I mean, I would not necessarily characterize the Doc Rivers era in Clippers as unsuccessful. At the end of the day, in the 6 or 7 years that he was there, they had their biggest run of success in franchise history. Was it as good as it could have been? No, but sometimes things happen that are out of your control. So all the respect for Doc.
That's true. All the respect for Doc. We're pro Doc Rivers podcast for sure. All right, so I'll wrap it up with my last pick, Mr. Irrelevant. And you know what? I might have caught a little of the magic Dave just used. I'm going to take Jaylen Brown. I'm going to do it. I'm taking Jaylen Brown, put him on my bench.
Yeah.
And kind of in that same vein of, he's so young. and he's been pretty good. And he's getting better pretty much every year. He regressed a little bit last year, but this year he's looked really good. He's been a very important part of this team. I don't know what the stat was. I think it was the Celtics were they lost one game this year, and it was that game against Toronto where he scored more than 25 points. Pretty much if he scores more than 25, they're going to win the game. And him in tandem with Tatum, that's a tough phrase to say. In tandem with Tatum, he is a very dynamic player, and on his own, he's very, very good. I don't know, maybe it was the haircut that did it, but he has really improved this year. And I like having him on bench with Rajon Rondo, a nice veteran that can help him learn, give him some pointers that I'm sure will be useful. But I'm going to go with Jaylen Brown off my bench. So I'll read off the teams here, just kind of wrapping things up. So I have Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Kevin Garnett, Dennis Johnson, Casey Jones, Rajon Rondo, Red Auerbach, and Jaylen Brown. Sopan, you drafted Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Robert Parrish, Ray Allen, Tiny Archibald, Bill Walton, Reggie Lewis, and Doc Rivers. Dave, you have Paul Pierce, Bob Cousy, Tommy Heinsohn, Dave Cowan, Sam Jones, Cedric Maxwell, Tommy Heinsohn again as your coach, and Jason Tatum. Dave, if you flip that, you could really just say that you got the best deal of the draft and took Tommy Heinsohn, the player, at number 7. Nobody would ever know.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
They got a steal, but then they'd be wondering why I didn't take Red Auerbach.
That's true. That's a good point. People would be wondering at that point. But anyway, so I'll post a poll with these results, and as things have usually gone with us, usually the guest dunks on us in every poll. So embarrassingly that we haven't even posted the Jeff Pearlman one yet from last week because we know that Dave and I are going to get absolutely smacked. But with that being said, Sopan, thank you so much for joining us. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter. My DMs are typically open. But yeah, Twitter's probably the easiest way to find me.
Perfect. You are at Sopan Deb?
Yep, that's correct.
Perfect. And also your book, Mistranslations, Meaning the Immigrant Parents Who Raised Me. My girlfriend got the jump on me and read the entire thing in 2 days, and she loved it.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. And so go pick that up wherever you get books, buy books, go get that. So I'm at Jacob_Morocco. The podcast is a CSL podcast on Twitter. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, all those fun places. Dave, where can we find you?
At David_Albiani.
Perfect. And you can catch us. We got Jeopardy coming up this week. We got some discussions on emo bands later this week. So keep on the lookout, and we will talk to you guys soon. All right. Let me just end this broadcast, and we'll be good to go.